University since God began the university, so I think he's been fossilized into the institution. And he is a professor of management, among other great skills. Mark?
He only kept that tone down because I can fire him. Please. No, thank you all for having me come today. It's an honor and an opportunity to be here and let you know a little bit about what's going on at the School of Business. It's been a good year for us. As you know, Dean Venkatachalam left, took a position as the Dean for the School of Management at the University of Massachusetts, Boston. So I just saw him this weekend. We were at a conference together. He looks the same and acts the same. So in the meantime, they've asked for me to take over for a year. So just a little bit of background information for you first about the business school. We'll talk about some numbers and talk about some things that are going on. So we have 11 different undergraduate majors, which is quite remarkable given the size of the school and the number of faculty we have. That's a lot of majors to try to cover. So we cover everything. The newest one up here is the supply chain management, but also relatively new are the analytics areas, which are hot topics in the world today. If you look at our graduate programs, we have 3 separate graduate degrees. Again, a lot to do with 42 faculty. So we have the MBA, and in the MBA now, the new trend is for specializations in the MBA. So we don't call them majors, they're specializations. We have specializations in business analytics, finance, health services, and marketing, operations, supply chain management as well. So a number of specializations there. We have the MPA, which is a Master of Public Accounting. That name's going to probably change. And they added a relatively new specialization in accounting analytics, another hot topic. If you want to do anything in today's world, you just put the word analytics with it, and you're good to go. 3 years ago, we started an MSBA, that's a Master's of Science in Business Analytics. Go figure. So that's a relatively new program for us. Just taking a quick look at some of the enrollments. So this one didn't get the numbers to show up at the top. All right. At the business school, we're considered a professional school, so students are not really enrolled as business students until their junior year. So we have 2 sets of numbers that we keep track of. We have pre-business majors, if you will. That's the freshmen and sophomores who intend to go into business. That we have a series of courses that they take before they become in the business school. And so we keep track of those. And you'll see that in the green bar here. And then the red bar is those who are actually enrolled as juniors and seniors in the business school. Overall, the enrollments have been kind of flat the last couple of years. We peaked back in about 17, 18, somewhere in that area. And it's kind of dipped a little bit, but it's really leveled off. This year, I think we're up like 2 students or 3 students or something like that. So pretty much the same as what we've seen in the past, which is actually good in comparison with a lot of schools across the country where business school enrollments have dropped a little bit. So total number of undergraduates, if you combine those 2 previous ones, just kind of gives you the overall picture of where we're at. So you can see the last few years we've been fairly steady. We can move into the graduate programs, so I call this the non-MBA graduate programs, if you will. So we've got certificates, which is a hot new area, although our number of certificate enrollees is actually going down. There's a lot of talk about people not going back and getting full degrees. They go back and get specializations in given areas, so they might want to concentrate on marketing or analytics or whatever it may be. So certificates are supposed to be the wave of the future. That hasn't panned out for us over the last couple of years. Numbers are pretty small. Our MPA numbers have been on the decline, and that's another national trend, if you will. Not as many people are going into accounting. We see it at the undergraduate level as well as at the graduate level. Not really sure why. The belief is that you've got a certain number of people coming into the business programs that are quantitatively oriented, if you will. So they like the math side of things. Adding the analytics majors to everything has siphoned a few of those people off. We've also seen salary increases in the world of finance. So as the finance world has upped their salaries, accounting has not kept pace with that. So we've got a few students we think that are kind of shifting over towards finance. And that we've certainly seen that in our student population. Our finance majors numbers are up and accounting is down. So our MPA program enrollments have been dropping. And then the MSBA, the Master of Science in Business Analytics, started off small, as you would expect for a new program, but we're increasing as we go along. So I wondered if you took the MSBA and added it up to the MPA, we'd probably be about the same, wouldn't we? So then we can just talk about our general, if you will, MBA majors. That would be the green bar here. And then the total graduate, you'll see that our total graduate programs are at a record high for us. Our MBA program is growing rapidly. We have a wonderful MBA, particularly the online program has been steadily growing. We just did some changes, if you will, to the MBA prerequisites. So if you're a non-business major as an undergrad, you can now enter our MBA program and still complete the program in 33 credit hours. That's really remarkable, and also remarkable is the fact that that program ranks in the top 20 in the Princeton Review every year for the last 8 years. So it gives us the distinction, we now call it the 20 under 20. We are the only 20 under 20. So we are the top 20 program, AACSB accredited, that you can get an MBA for under $20,000. Okay. Compare that with Duke, which is about $85,000. You kind of get the picture. It's a great value, and students really appreciate that. So we expect that MBA number to jump up pretty quickly over the next few years here. So total all graduate programs, if you put those last couple slides together, you can see that we are at a record high this year. That's putting some strain on class sizes and faculty and so forth. Never enough resources to go around. All of our graduate classes this semester are completely full. We don't have any that have any room to spare. So, all right, some school highlights, just some things that we've been working on over the last couple of years and maybe you'd like to be updated on. Probably the one that's gotten the most attention in the press is what we call Coyote Business Consulting, or the CBC program. This is where we have undergraduate students, primarily, a few graduates are involved as well, who pair up with we take two students and we match them up with a company somewhere across the state. These are usually rural, could be a small restaurant in Wessington Springs, or we've done helicopter programs out in Black Hills, could be just about anything. We've looked at projects covering everything from manure spreaders to restaurants, so covers a wide range of things. And the students provide basically consulting advice, so they get to know the business, they learn about their processes and so forth, and they might provide whatever it is that the company needs. Marketing, analytics. We've done these projects for, I think we do about 35 projects a year in CBC. In addition to which, we've also taken on projects called the BEST program. Some people want to call it CBC Corporate. I don't know, that name doesn't seem to ring true to me, but nonetheless, these are located in Sioux Falls. This is where we're working with some of the larger companies in Sioux Falls. So, and then actually the city of Sioux Falls itself did a couple of projects last year. We had students that were doing a financial analysis of the proposed parking garage for the airport, for example. So what would you have to charge in order to make the garage pay for itself, kind of thing. So we've done projects for Lloyd Group, Premier Bank, et cetera, up there. And again, these are two students, typically, sometimes three, depending upon the size of the project, paired up with them. Now for BEST, they actually go up to Sioux Falls and meet with the companies for a number of weeks in a row, whereas for the regular CBC, that's all done virtually. So this has gotten a lot of attention at the state level because it's an economic development, particularly for rural South Dakota. And they actually, believe it or not, approved us to hire a coordinator for that position this year. So we just did that. Chelsea Limoges, who's been in our marketing department, will be the new coordinator for the CBC and BEST program. So, Our student organizations continue to shine. Our FMA group went off to New York again and fared extremely well. Finished second place this year. I know that's a kind of a reduction from first place the previous year, but you know, you can't win the World Series every year, right? They did a wonderful job. They're competing against some of the best schools in the nation as well, and they continue to do great. Beta Alpha Psi, again, are one of our major groups. No, Pi Sips brand, PSE. Yes, they finished what? They had a couple of in the finals for the nationals.
The regional competition, we put 2 people on the stage out of room 40. The year before that, we put 4 people on the stage out of 80.
So, again, our students shine in national competitions wherever they go. And our faculty really enjoy being with the students and taking them on these trips. It's one of the best parts of their jobs. We added the new supply chain management this past year, so that will be ramping up. We hire a new faculty member for that this year as well. We added 3 new faculty this past year, 2 in finance and 1 in digital marketing, another hot area, if you will. I mentioned the MBA changes that we had made, the prerequisites to that program, so that's panning out very well for us. I think we've seen a very significant uptick in applications. And then we restructured our analytics major this last year. So we had an analytics, and now it's been subdivided out into concentrations, if you will. So you can do an analytics major focused in accounting, or focused in supply chain, or focused in marketing, whichever you prefer. I think there's like 5 different specializations there. So it was a busy last year, very productive year, and I think we made some great strides, but can't sit still. So what's going on for this year? What's my goals for this year, and what do we hope to achieve? I know I'm an interim, right? But that doesn't mean we have the luxury of sitting still. The first thing that we really need to think about is our program sustainability. So you remember Dean Vinke was really a go-getter. We added something about 6 majors during the 8 years he was here at the undergrad, and a graduate degree and a bunch of specializations, and we added CBC and BEST, et cetera, all great programs, don't get me wrong, but somehow you got to figure out how you're going to sustain all that given the resources that we have. So we're working on that. One of the major changes we made this year was, in the past we've done CBC 1 semester and BEST a different semester. And that puts a tremendous burden on the faculty because they mentor those students. So if you've got multiple projects to mentor in a given semester, you know, you're spending 5 or 10 hours a week with those students, that becomes difficult. So we restructured it so we're doing a little bit of each both semesters. So we have some CBC fall, some CBC spring, and some BEST fall and some BEST spring. And that helps to spread the workload out amongst the faculty a little bit better. Just like we did the changes to the MBA prerequisites, we're trying to do the same thing for the MPA. So for the Masters in Public Accounting, there'll be a change in name coming up. It will turn into a Master's, what is that now? A Master's of, it's just an MA, isn't it? Masters of Accounting, I think. So that's been the term that's used more broadly across the country. So there'll be that. We'll change the prerequisites to that program. That's going to take some time to figure out. If you don't have an undergraduate degree in accounting, it's really hard to take tax at the graduate level. So we're working on it. We're looking for our new MBA specialization. We'll add one of those this year on leadership because that's my area, and as king, I get to make that decision now, and we're going to do that. Probably our biggest challenge will be in faculty recruitment this year. We have 3 leftover positions from last year that didn't get filled. Mostly due to some late changes in faculty. Our HR professor decided to go back to industry. It's hard to compete sometimes with the salaries, but so we lost that. We had an accounting search that didn't get filled, and we had a new supply chain management position to be filled. But overall, with that and retirements, we're looking to hire at least 6 faculty this year, and maybe up to 8, depending upon some maybe to be announced retirements. So that's going to take a lot of time. You consider we've got about 40 faculty total. When you start talking about 6 or 8, you know, that's 15 to 20% of our total faculty. So going to be a lot of searches there. I've already joked about it. The legacy that I will leave to the school is who did I hire? Right? Did I hire some good people that'll stick around for a while? That's our goal. So well, that's kind of a really quick synopsis of what's going on in the business school. I'm just going to throw it open for questions and see what anybody's got.
I'm intrigued by the fact that you were able to get away with, do away with the prerequisites to the MBA. Did you sense any, I don't know the right way to put this, drop in student ability in the first semester of their graduate work, or how did that go?
Well, I'll give you some insights into that. We found that there were some areas that we were requiring as a prerequisite. We went from 6 prerequisites to 2. Okay, so it's not that there aren't any prerequisites, but there's only 2 now. We found a couple of areas where the students had already picked it up. Most of our online students are already working professionals. So we had a org behavior prerequisite. Guess what? If you've worked in business for 5 or 10 years, you kind of get org behavior. You might not know the titles or the names for things, but you know how people act, right? So that really wasn't of benefit to us. Some of the other areas that we combined. Now, what's going to be interesting is we're going through that first round of those combined classes now. And the one that combines the stats and the econ and the kind of all the quantitative stuff is proving to be difficult for some students. I mean, we're packed a lot into that class. So we've got some students that are struggling with it, to be honest. It's an experiment. We'll have to look at it, and if we have too high of a failure rate in that, we might need to break that apart and make it 3 instead of 2. So some people just are good at the quant, they're going to do fine, but others, that's a struggle. So there was a lot of discussions before we approved that program, as you might guess. A lot of faculty are like, you can't take my, faculty get really defensive about their turf area. So yes, I don't know, yeah. We do, and we've had a fairly good connection over in Asia. So a lot of our analytic-minded folks come from foreign areas. We had one of our graduate students seem to go back home and recruit quite a few people, so we've had a good contingency from his hometown. I don't think we've got as many as some of the other places across campus, but yeah, computer science probably leads the pack, but.
Do you mind if I add on to that?
Sure.
So we get a lot of students that are interested in Master of Business Analytics specifically because they get OPT, which means they get to stay in the U.S. for 3 years after they graduate with their visa. So. Yeah.
That's a big thing. The ability to stay in the U.S. longer is granted to those who are in STEM programs because there's such a demand. And the analytics area falls into that. And we're trying to get accounting listed into that as well. So, yes.
So I had a student last year ask about this program, but I heard it's in the very, very preliminary stages. I think it's an MD with also a business focus. Do you know anything about that?
It's a brand new one. We just started this year.
Okay.
So we partnered up, and I probably should have put that on the list. We partnered up with the med school. So we have, I think, 3 students this year that are doing a joint MD MBA. Now, if you didn't think med school was hard enough by itself, add an MBA on top of it, and they're going to complete it, supposedly, in the same length of time. So, again, this is a trial run this first year. We're going to see how well they fare doing both of those at the same time. But we have a donor who was looking at it and said, so much of the healthcare world now, it's about big business. And you need to understand the medical side and the business side in order to make this work. So we're trying to be ahead of the curve on that. It's kind of a unique one. I don't know if anybody else is doing that. So we have our first 3 students. We'll see how they fare. Here and then Greg. I'll just block him out.
How about internship programs? Is that a common practice in the school?
A lot of our students do internships. We probably have, on average, I'm going to say close to 100 total internships per year amongst the students. When you consider that they usually don't do internships until their junior or senior years, that's roughly half of our students in any given year are on internships. Some areas, Health Services Administration requires an internship. So I think they're the only program that does. We send out a lot of students on accounting internships the first half of the year. They go off on tax internships. So they're gone for half a semester, January and February, and come back mid-March at break and then finish off the semester. But yeah, we encourage them. So. The pandemic, yes.
So how has that been received on the resume on the other side when someone is being considered for hire within the state, maybe within the region, and further than that, are the students able to segue into the market and replace that?
We're just seeing those first, and this is what happened. CBC got created because of the pandemic. So in spring of 20, we had all these students who were ready to go out for summer internships, right? And the economy shut down. All the internships disappeared. So we were concerned about that, and so we created this project, this series of projects for the fall, and the students did that. So that first wave is just really now hitting, and they're graduating and getting out there. That first wave has mentioned that it becomes a really nice talking point if they can get into an interview. So I don't know that everybody knows what it is yet to recognize it when it's on a resume, but once you get in and you talk and say, yeah, we did this for this small company here somewhere. We've had some of those projects that have gone really, really well, had tremendous success, and others, you know, as you might expect with some students, they did okay. We'll leave it at that. Greg.
How much money does Kyle Capital Management have and operate?
Kyle Capital Management is our finance, one of the major finance organizations. So they manage a fund of money which has been donated, and they've been growing that for a number of years. I think they're at about 3.2 million right now. Is that pretty close, Bart? Does anybody know that number right off? You're probably not familiar with that, but it's over 3 million now. When I got here, it was just about 1 million. So they've tripled that. Well, I don't know what it was when I first got here, but it's grown quite a bit. They beat the market yet once again. So they beat the standard indexes. Yeah. So.
How does your high national ranking and the rural nature of the university play when you try to recruit faculty?
Yeah, it's tough. Recruiting faculty is really tough, particularly in certain areas. Accounting is the hard one. It's just really hard. There's not enough PhDs in accounting to hire them all. And that's nationwide. It doesn't really matter where you're at. We all struggle to get accounting faculty. In the other areas, we have a few people who are looking for a school like us, who don't want to necessarily live in Dallas or Chicago or someplace like that. So we appeal to a small minority of potential applicants, but a lot of them do come and they say, Midwest, gosh, it's so far, you know, to anything. And I try to convince them. I say, look, you got a 5-minute commute every day. Right? If you lived in Chicago, it's an hour commute every day, right? Hour each way. So I'm saving you 2 hours a day. So if it takes you 4 hours on Saturday to go up to Sioux Falls to do your shopping, I've still saved you 4 hours that week, right? So it just doesn't make sense to me. You can get to Sioux Falls and back in an hour. That's what you commute to work every day. I also try to tell them that, yeah, I know it gets cold here in the winter, but you know, you spend about 4 months, 3 to 4 months of every year inside, no matter where you live in the U.S. If you live in Texas and Arizona, you spend June through September inside, don't you? Well, which 4 months do you want to spend inside? The 4 months where you're working as a faculty member and have the summer off where you could be outside when our weather's really nice? Or would you rather live in Arizona where you're 4 months off, it's 120 degrees outside? I don't think I've persuaded many with that argument, but I think it's good logic. So, yes?
Does the lack of an income tax in South Dakota help you?
It does. Our salaries typically don't match up with national salaries, but we are able to talk about cost of living and taxes and so forth and how that's better. Actually, the biggest draw we have is quality of life. They want to come because we've got great schools, we've got great people, great students, and a balanced workload for them. So it's not a publish or perish kind of environment for us. And we're looking for faculty that really want to be around students. Not necessarily top-tier publications, but they definitely want to be involved with research. But mostly they want to be with students. So that's the ones we're looking for, and we find a few of those, like Rand. So, and Greg, we've got some great ones. Bart, our group here, but we've also got some others. We have excellent, excellent faculty. Definitely the strength of the school.
So when you bring the new word analytics, that just cries for software development. Do you teach software development or instruct them in software usage?
No, our students will get some really basic programming stuff, very, very low level. Just basic commands and how to pull up searches and do that kind of stuff. If you really want to get into programming, you got to go over to computer science. That's not. So they actually make the program. We just know enough to use the program. So it's like you would use Word, right? You could use Word, but you wouldn't actually use program in Word. So, yeah. So. Any other questions? Well, we're a great school. I think we're better than UNL, just saying. So, I know, sometimes you got to get away from home. I can appreciate that too. So, but thank you. If you ever have any questions, feel free to stop by. We'd love to have any visitors come over and sit in on a class. Maybe take an MBA class just for kicks and giggles, right? Thank you.
What a lifesaver. Okay. Guests. In this case, it's high school. So Sophia, Jack, and Maya, thank you very much for coming. I hope you enjoyed it. Your conversations are interesting. I have a question for you, Jack. How do you run cross country if you can't see the road?
I can so when people think about a visual impairment, it's not like I can't see people in front of me, I can see this lady right? But she's not as clear as if I would have regular vision. It's not distance wise, it's clarity wise. So picture like a new flat screen TV compared to a old box TV back in the day.
It's in my memory, that might be an advantage because I remember running very clearly a 10K in California, and right across the road it said Last Hill, and it was a lie. It was terrible. Okay, so thank you very much, all of you.